Ape, ape, ape. All right. Today, we're going to try a short mindfulness exercise. Something I've been working with. This is my first attempt. Sort of a guided meditation, if you will. Special thanks to T-Converted Man for helping me out with this. And it's definitely helped me through the turmoil I've experienced in my life. Maybe it will help you. So, at times we feel unbalanced in life. We've lost our equilibrium. We need to get grounded. We need to become reattached to the world, to our experience, figure out why we're doing what we're doing. And so, in this exercise, we will ground ourselves in logic. Whenever we feel overwhelmed, life is too complicated, can't see the point in doing what we are doing. We'll simply defer to logic. What is the reason that I am doing what I am doing in this moment? Do I have a logical basis for explaining my actions, my behaviors? Let's say we cannot see the point. Our only point, the point of reference, is our logic. Logic informs everything that we do, everything that we have learned, everything that we know, and everything that we can teach to others. It may be the case that we are obsessed on a certain thing, maybe a person in our lives, maybe a ritual that we hold dear. But when we pull the covers back, we find that the only thing that is reasonable to be obsessed with is logic. And if we have to replace an unhealthy obsession in our lives with a healthy one, it seems sensible that we would defer to logic. I wish not to be obsessed with the ritual intake of nicotine into my body. But I cannot find a reason, a way to do otherwise. I am obsessed with that ritual. The only way that I can overcome my obsession, my addiction, is to defer to logic, to become obsessed with and addicted to logic. And when I start with that as my point of focus in every day, I find I can lead a happier and more productive life, grounded in logic. And I don't need anything else. I can proceed forward from logic onto other points, and we will talk about externalizing logic in the next meditation. But for now, just remember, you can always defer to logic. It's the next reasonable step on your road to a happier, healthier, and more fulfilling life. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Dun, 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 dun.
Just how this will end when I get what I want and I never want it again.
Column exists.
Not us. We probably maybe get half-inch tops of rain coming in us.
Have the freedom to leave.
don't you guys put your wings away?
Dude, can you please mute him? I can't. Every time I try to say something, he just won't shut the fuck up.
Between like 5 a.m. and 5:45 a.m. And in the dream, one of my good friends who's a prophet, what the Lord led me to was that Esther chapter number 4:14, who would know that maybe you were called for such a time as this, or I like to say for such a time as now. Timing.
Dr. Ken Hovind here to engage this question.
You just can't go sit there punching people out in the head.
Hey, YouTube, let it out.
Any more for that boy, your hands up.
Several times in the past, and the last information that was just given by a juvenile.
We turn now to a developing story that we have been following.
I'm going to go to Frank.
Yes, you are experiencing deja vu. And so am I. All right. Probably open this up in a few. If anybody wants to come in, late night stream, Trusty Ape, hashtag TrustyApeCo, @TrustyApeCo. Email, stupidmonkeyphilosophy@gmail.com. For any inquiries or, hate mail. We'd like to receive hate mail at the Trusty Ape channel. Part of the Trusty Ape Podcasting Network. Hello. Welcome. It's March 27th, a Wednesday morning. If I am not getting my days horribly mistaken here, I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. Okay, good. We're doing well. One moment, please. Find myself asking a question lately of myself and of you. Am I still an atheist? It's been a long, strange year. Not gonna lie. Maybe a little longer than that, but at least the last year I have documented some very, very strange occurrences. And some that are not documented. Some that you don't speak aloud in public because they make you sound a little nutso, right? Not that there's anything wrong with that. So I've developed a me plan. More of a me plan than a they plan. Hey, Lemon Pie, good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. They said when I went into recovery, it was like a selfish journey. You need things to attach to that are important for you to focus on outside of other people. Expectations. Expectations create more stress. People's expectations. So doing stuff just for you. And so I think, it's appropriate. So I'm trying to adopt this now. Going back to roots. And just say, hey, I'm going to do this thing for however long a period. Like, it doesn't have to be a long period of time. So I can devote, however much time, but to accomplishing a certain task each day. I'm doing one stream a day. Whether it's a short stream or a long stream doesn't matter. Just as long as one gets accomplished. It can be 5 minutes. It can be 5 hours. Doesn't matter. Just one per day. One song per day. Doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Doesn't have to be Beethoven, what have you. Just a simple song. That's fine. Just one a day. It's a good goal. And to further that goal, to send said track, whatever, recording, as I did yesterday, to a fellow musician, you know, might want to collaborate. Each time you do that, you plant a new seed out in the universe. So I've been asking myself this question as I roll around the YouTube sphere doing strange and sometimes interesting, sometimes not so interesting things. But, you know, I keep persisting. I asked myself, are you tired of talking about Yahweh? I mean, the Abrahamic God. When I started this particular channel, I had another separate YouTube channel devoted to, doesn't matter. I don't have that YouTube channel anymore. But when I started this particular YouTube channel, I'll be right back. Apologies for the interruption. It might happen a little bit tonight, this morning, or what have you. I had a particular angle in mind. I was watching like a very particular brand of YouTube content a lot, which was primarily like street epistemology and deconversion stories. And I started kind of getting into debates between theists and atheists. And so I was really kind of like focused on, well, I wanted to be, you know, kind of different. So I liked shows like Truth Wanted, which was still like kind of a show for skeptics, but they didn't challenge and debate the callers as much. So it was like a call-in show, but they would just allow people to kind of tell their stories, and then they would ask some questions, but it wasn't like really challenging. Just kind of got like a strange, you know, like an interesting conversation. I actually called into Truth Wanted once myself. It was a funny call, telling my you know, well, I call it a paranormal story, right? And so like the first video I did on this channel was with a buddy of mine who I know, you know, IRL as well as in the online sphere, who does paranormal investigations, is a believer. So you know, that'd be an interesting conversation to have. We didn't get into theological debate, but as I've been around, you know, there's been more challenging topic matter on the table, the subject matter, whatever topics of interest. And I've kind of gotten to learn a lot more about this, and I've learned how much I really don't know about theology. And so my input content, if you will, the content that which I consume has branched out a great deal. I still get a lot of good atheist content and deconversion stories and debates, but I also hear things from various theological perspectives and kind of struggle to understand them sometimes. But I mean, at the end of the day, and I rarely ask the question of people who come and challenge me anymore, can you show me the deity? Can you prove me God? show them to me, put them in my face, reason it out to me in such a way that I cannot deny it. And, I've seldom had any success with that. I've tried it in the past. Rarely, if ever, on this channel. Because that really wasn't my objective. I wanted to moderate debates, but I didn't necessarily want to do them myself. Of course, I'd love to. I've been trying to learn more about how to do that type of thing, engage that type of interaction. But as things have progressed, I have to question how important that is in my life. How much time and energy should I devote to it? Does it negatively impact my mental health in any sense? I don't think so. I mean, I think it has the potential to. And I think certain interactions I have had, not on the theological front, but on other sensitive topics, have definitely negatively impacted my mental health. I think I've had more negative impact on my mental health from adverse relations with other skeptics and non-believers. But the end of online relationships tends to be a bit impersonal. It happens. Sometimes you vent about it. Unless there's some kind of like serious obsession going on, like interpersonally, I guess. I don't. I tend to be the only one venting about things these days. Things that happened quite a while ago. But I try not to make attacks. The point is, it's not a huge topic of conversation here. I guess what I'm saying is that I have good conversations with people that I tend to have very serious disagreements with. And then I tend to have these blowout kind of feuds with people that I generally agree with over what seem like more minor disagreements. But that's pretty rare, I'm a non-confrontational person. But I ask myself, am I tired of having this conversation? I mean, I'm listening, obviously, to other streams as well. Sometimes I consider joining. In fact, happened to me last night. A series of streams going on amongst fellows that I know, guys and gals. And there was, an ongoing conversation among several individuals regarding, it doesn't matter. There was a lot of topics involved. There was a lot of back and forth involved. There was a person there that I didn't care too much for involved. And I really, really wanted to argue with them. Like at one point, my, style of argumentation would just have been to, at that stage in the game, they're just like making statements that you want to say, F you and, things. It's not going to be productive. It's not going anywhere. It's not healthy for me to raise my blood pressure because this person wants to be hurtful and hateful and ignorant, right? And it's not like I don't need to go pull up stats that I know exist to prove this person is full of shit, right? Because like I said, they're just making statements in the stream with a bunch of people who I tend to, and people are kind of redirecting the conversation, and it's like, oh, well, that person just made it a statement that, I would say generally, I wouldn't let it fly. If it were me, I would shut them down on, whatever that. I'm not even going to get into the specifics of it. So I feel like if I keep, going into name dropping and talking about I should just cover the video or whatever, I don't have the opportunity to do that right now. The point is, there's a reason that me and this person don't interact anymore. It's been a couple of years ago. the last time that they and I did interact, actually, I've addressed them. They refuse to address me. Like when we're in streams together, this person, I will direct comments towards them in the side chat. I think I've actually been in a couple streams with them since where I've said something to them and they've ignored me. So that's fine. We did get into it because of exactly that. Because they went out of their way, they targeted me to try to trigger me, and it worked, right? But I acknowledged that it worked, right? And we were live in conversation together, and so it wasn't like. But the point was that he didn't do it like it. The point of it is to try to aggressively tear people down, right? So the argument itself is invalid. And I believe that this person knows the argument is invalid. And all they want to try to do is get the other person to rage quit the argument, which they're going to succeed in if they keep persistently, saying a thing. So, that's why I think like the debate sphere can be toxic. It can be really toxic. And even sometimes open rooms can be toxic because of people like that, because of instigators and people who don't shut instigators down effectively. And maybe I myself have been guilty of that in the past. I've introspected on this, right? Spooky, good to see you. Yes, streams can be very frustrating. I mean, especially when you 9 out of 10 of the people in the stream, and it's just that one person out. But like I said, if everybody in the room continues to engage with that person, even if they're, being like, I mean, again, like for the sake of debate, conversation, okay, cool. But to allow somebody to just keep saying nasty shit, I mean, really nasty shit, and not pushing back against it. Okay. And so that's where it like some people's theological perspectives, they lean in like this bizarre direction. It can be like, where did you get that from? Even other people of the same, particular, the same persuasion of you don't see it that way, and yet you come out with this belief. And all the while, if I have to argue with this person, and it might be, again, this is like biblically based argumentation, as far as I can tell. There's no other basis for their line of reasoning. Prove me Yahweh. Show me Yahweh exists. Has he answered conclusively? Yahweh or the person in question? Wait, who are we talking about here? Maybe. Who is he? Who are they? Welcome Hillary's emails. So I wonder if I'm tired of talking about this Sky Daddy monster when they've still yet to present the evidence. I mean, maybe I'm gonna fall back to that position. I can't disprove anything. I have to be certainly, somewhat agnostic about some of this stuff, right? All right, I had a couple of other issues I want to address on that point, because Jill did come out and call me a deist like at least 3 times. Like he did it on one of my streams, then we did it over at either Wilder or Togg's channel, I can't remember. But he like 3 times he came out and called me some kind of deist. I was like, no, I don't think that's what I said, because I acknowledged that I was agnostic on certain points and that I could entertain a certain idea. But I didn't say that that was what I believed. I just said that it was possible. And the fact that it's possible doesn't mean that's what I believe is true. So I can entertain a possibility and not say I believe conclusively that this is the case, that this is in fact how things are in the universe, right? I'm comfortable with saying that I don't know how certain things in the universe work. I don't have to prove how everything in the universe interacts or came to be. That's not my job. So no, I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, yes, I'm gonna go. I don't know. And if Brojo's whole, I'm not gonna get into that. The panentheism thing is just, it's killing me right now. So the one thing I'm tired of talking about, right? Yahweh. I mean, if you want it, if you're gonna show me Yahweh, show me Yahweh. That's fine, right? If you want to talk about deism or panentheism or whatever, like, okay, cool. We have to start like defining terms, and that's fine as well. Just gotta make sure we're all on the same page here. Because it's tricky navigating sometimes with all these people in a room, and then he who shall not be named, over here, just I mean, those people, and that's one of the reasons those personalities piss me off, because they tend to attract so much attention, and I think that's one of the reasons they do it, right? Just say something controversial, because you know that people are going to start responding to you, and it doesn't matter whether, I mean, you believe the bullshit that's coming out of your mouth, just as long as it causes it garners reaction, right? It doesn't matter. That's right. Okay, cool. So now let me say something controversial. So my friend asked me earlier, why I've been rewatching these old videos leading up to about this time last year. They date back to, actually, they date back a little earlier, prior to Valentine's Day last year, into March and April. Some of which are publicly available, some of which are not. Part of the reason is I guess I ran out of like recording storage in StreamYard, so I'm trying to offload some of those videos. I'm downloading some as audio files, just to get like StreamYard storage freed up for recording or whatever. And I'm also going through what's public on YouTube and what is not. There's a video with Richard Madsen and myself. And so this all leads back to a point. And I guess I'll just spoiler alert right here, right? Because around this time last year, Deconverted Man helped me find God. And I don't know if how many people actually viewed that stream. I think it was a lengthy one. And there was a whole series of streams with me completely unhinged. Happy early morning, Elsie. Kaiju. See you. I was completely unhinged. I was on a freaking whatever, bath salts or something. No, it wasn't bath salts. It's similar to the stuff I was taking recently. Anyway, this is medication I was taking to help me quit smoking, and it's going through a really stressful period. And so I had a series of really bad weeks. I don't know. And then I found God. I found God, except God doesn't look anything like God. It doesn't look like a deity. What is God? My God is logic. Is logic. I don't have the notes. See, and this is why I have to look at the video, because I don't have the notation. But I'm pretty sure we used logic to circularly reason that logic is God and God is logic. You tend to avoid Deconverted Man. I think we've had a couple of decent interactions, but not many of our, how should I word this? We've had some failed collaborations, but we also had this really magical moment. And I was in the midst of a complete mental breakdown. Nearly complete. Well, yeah, it was really bad. I've had to, like I said, I've had to delete some of these streams. Or just Richard knows, and this goes back to this whole thing where like I'm exploring aspects of my life in public. Just happened this way. Didn't plan on this, right? But I was questioning a lot of things. You know, the meaning of life, etc., etc. But I was also just trying to find a better way to live. They seem to have lost any way to find. So we find this thing where it's like, okay, well, God is the thing that you devote your mind and your life to. You live by it. Its word is the law. Where is God? God, logic. Because if I live logically, if all of my decisions are based on logic, and I wake up every day and I think about logic, and before I do anything in the morning, I put on my logic hat and tie my logic shoes. So, right, I can go down this whole rabbit hole again. I'm not going to do it here, but you get the idea. Just put logic before every decision that you make, and you can't ever be wrong. Something like that. And so that's like the way that a theist would see God, right? He'd be like, yeah, like I think about God every morning when I get up, and what does God want me to do? And, blah, 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 blah. You do the same thing with logic. Okay, it's interchangeable. It's good, right? But that doesn't make me a theist, right? Logic is not an entity as such. It didn't create anything, as far as I can tell. It's like an internally, what's the word for that? Spooky said he blocked me on his channel for a very long time, and I hold a grudge like you wouldn't believe. Okay, well, I understand that. I don't know why that happened. I wasn't there. I did not witness it. I don't disbelieve you. Well, I won't get into specifics of it. I have suspicions, but I have a lot of suspicions. I tend to just be kind of a paranoid person, so I won't put my conspiracy theories out on the internet. That would just be whack. So we'll just there. I have a deconverted man conspiracy theory, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's all. But it doesn't have necessarily anything to do with blocking people. But yeah. Okay. See, there are things that I will not share publicly on the internet. But I had this amazing breakthrough, and it was like there's been this whole wave of since then, since say around January, February, well, beginning of last year ish. February 14th, I think I officially made some kind of declaration that doesn't necessarily mean anything anymore, but at the time it was very significant, and it's just so you can kind of like pack it all into that, right? And that's part of everything I've still been unpacking over the process this whole year, right? So I've had like these steps forward, and then these great leaps back, and all of this has kind of played out, well, to an extent on live stream, as well as in real life. But I have so much of it documented that as we watch back, like I did earlier, right, you could see the regression of a 5-day period of my life this last October, between well, minus 1 day. I saved the 3rd day because Tobin and I had a great conversation in there too. But yeah, a lot of people were around last year, and have been around since then, like people that I've met on YouTube. This is like Richard Madsen, Deconverted Man, Mike Speed of Sound, Dave Captive Desk, all of y'all in the chat, right? Like people that I've talked to, behind the scenes or whatever. Like, but a lot of this shit's just Yeah, I'm not going to tell you the theory. If I ever have any type of evidence, I'll give it to you, but I'm sorry. I can't be that guy. I tell you my theory about B.S. Lewis. Anyway, no, see, that's clickbait right there. So, I see this as a process I'm undergoing, and I found that the only way that I can continue, like, to how do I have to, no, so this goes down to like where the thing that keeps holding me back in my relationships, in my interactions, is where I don't have balance and I don't have boundaries. And part of this is about drawing boundaries and saying, well, hey, okay, if I'm going to do this, X, Y, or Z on the channel, right, I have to have clear boundaries with people who I allow on here. So if like I host an open panel, for example, it's not just going to be a free for all, right? I can't just let anybody come in here and start asking me about, revelations or, whatever, some such, and not say, hey, walk this thing back. And why are you making this claim which I need to refute? Like, so you need to qualify your claim, right? That should be that's the starting point. Anybody just like, if I walk into your stream and I make a claim, I need to qualify my claim, right? And so that kind of like got me going because I was talking to Richard about Magna Bosco and street epistemology, and he was accusing Magna Bosco of being dishonest, and I don't necessarily think that was the case, right? In the context of that conversation, regardless of what nefarious intentions he might have, I mean, I don't even think, I wouldn't call it nefarious. Like, you could say that there is an ulterior motive, but I don't think that you could call it like a bad motive. So, and that I wanted that ideally to kind of be my style with certain conversations, of course, right? Any conversation that makes some kind of outlandish claim, some kind of, because I have them myself. I have made claims, or I have stories that are inexplicable and have made these claims in public, and I cannot say anything other than that's just what I saw, bro. That's just how I experienced it. I have no evidence for you. And that is true of certain experiences that I've had in my life. And once you're honest about that, say, okay, so now we can say this was your experience. There might be other explanations for this. This is your theory, right? And we can only work with that. But it's not like discounting the fact that I had an experience. And I can't take it personally that way. And for me to try and say that I might not be, I can never be incorrect in my processing of an experience, especially if it's like distantly in the past, right? My memory might be skewed. Like, but even a more recent experience, if it's a traumatic experience, confusing experience, or an experience involving many moving parts and many actors. So I'm fairly certain, and I only just say this out loud on the channel because I'm saying it now, my supernatural experiences, I wouldn't call it supernatural, paranormal. I will give you my the one I told on Truth One, and I told it a lot. A friend of mine and I experienced time lapse, as well as a visual phenomenon. So we were on a couch very late at night, early in the morning, like maybe around this time. It was around midnight-ish, between midnight and 2 a.m., midnight and 1 a.m. roughly. We were on the couch on the front porch because we're rednecks, and and yes, we smoked a marijuana cigarette together. But that's all we were on, and we're sitting there having a conversation. Can't remember about what. Right? This happened, 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. And so the both of us, I don't remember which of us. I think it was me that saw it first, and I pointed out. Could have been the other way around. Anyway, both of us were drawn to something in the sky. We could see the sky was clear up in far northern California, and all of a sudden we could see what it almost looked like clouds, but it wasn't clouds. There was an actual black veil. It's the only way I can describe it. A veil that was spreading across the sky. It was like symmetrical. It was like as if you were closing like the lid on a dome. The only way I can describe it. Like see this big black like eyelid closing in the sky. And then the second that the sky became completely black, everything went white. That was unusual. Have paranormal experiences right now. So everything went white, completely white. And I remember because I remember moving I looked to look back at him and I couldn't see anything. Like I remember the sensation of moving my head, but I was completely blinded. Like it was just a blinding. It was like when you see like people enter into the Matrix or something, right? And so that happened, and it felt like I was fully conscious through it. But in a few seconds, I mean, I imagine it was a few seconds, the light disappeared. And I was still wide awake. We still had the burning marijuana cigarette in our hand. And my friend and I would look back and forth at each other, and we looked up at the sky, and the sun was rising. So time must have lapsed. I mean, it must have been 5, 6 a.m. by that point, at least, to see the sun come into the sky, right? Now, other people would say, oh, you guys were just stoned. But we still had the joint, man. Still lit. So I thought we were abducted by aliens. He thought that we were, I don't know, some kind of, God state or something like that. Because he was still a theist at that. Well, I guess he was still a theist when he died, but he became a pagan. Yeah, never really fully deconverted. Did get him away from Christianity. So that's one. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, yes, and I remembered. Somebody here, I don't know who it is. Somebody, I imagine, is gleaning information from this channel, from things I share here. I know, for instance, at least one of my children's mothers is aware of this channel and has addressed things I've said on here, right? Directly to me. But apparently somebody is now, my mom was under the impression this was from recovery meetings, but I don't think so. From the nature of what she said to me, which was somewhat vague, it makes it sound more like somebody who's in a group who knows my mother, is also aware of this channel, So now that's a thing. So did you share this in a meeting? What kind of meeting? Because I do share things on the internet. So if you know my mom and you hear me say, just don't, let's not do that. And don't dox my mom. It's not cool. Not that you would if you were out there. See, conspiracy theories, but it's not a theory because I'm well. I mean, it is a theory at this point, but I'm relatively confident by what you told me that it's not something I shared in a recovery meeting, and it's probably something I shared here on YouTube. So I often get myself in trouble with these sorts of things, the things I share on YouTube. Yeah, be careful. Can't say everything on the internet. My mom and I are getting along, all right, I guess. We talk a little more frequently now. Am I still an atheist? Yeah, I mean, I don't think that logic is a deity. I just can't think of logic that way. Is logic my guide, my way, my truth? Perhaps. Of course, it only works if I act more logically, I suppose. Flying trash can lids. Hillary's email. No. I mean, I've seen actual flying trash can lids thrown like a discus. No UFOs as such. I would say most of my other spiritual experiences are just around, strange things around people. When I was a kid, I think I had a very active imagination. I used to think I was hallucinating, but now I'm just not sure if I was like having like a lucid dream or something. Seemed very real, but I was, young. New rules. So yeah, it's just maintaining a pattern where I am achieving each of these goals. Like I said, small, attainable goals per day, every day. And that can also extend to these other things that I enjoy doing. But I'm a very task-oriented person, and it seems logical to try to follow that out so okay, so we're doing that. Going back through these videos because there's an importance in establishing a line of reasoning. There's a line of reasoning we got from there to here, and all of this progression, right? Is at some point you made a decision, cause, effect, chain of events. Now you do the chain analysis, which is what we did in CBT and DBT, right? We did the chain analysis. You look back, reflect on how the event unfolded and what affected your behavior. And so I have this crazy opportunity to just psychologize myself using the internet. And it's amazing. It's amazing that we all have this, you just become the internet. It's a totally insane thing to do, but I mean, you could do it. So with that said, I'm still an atheist, but my God is logic. I know it's kind of a contradiction, but it's not really, if you think about it. Logic, logic, logic. I did do a logic song as well, so I'll have to pull that out of the hat one of these days. 2:10 in the AM. Not sure whether to open the room up or shut it down. Take 2 minutes and think about it.
Just how this will end when I get what I want and I never want it again.
Column exists.
Not us. We probably maybe get half-inch tops of rain coming in this.
Have the freedom to leave.
Why don't you guys put your wings away?
Dude, can you please mute him? I can't. Every time I try to say something, he just won't shut the up.
Between like 5 a.m. and 5:45 a.m. And in the dream, one of my good friends who's a prophet, what the Lord led me to was that Esther chapter number 4:14, who would know that maybe you were called for such a time as this, or I like to say for such a time as now. Timing.
Dr. Ken Hovind here to engage this question.
You just can't go sit there punching people out in the head.
Hey, you too. Later, guy.
Hands up. Several times in the past, and the last information that was just given by a juvenile.
We turn now to a developing story that we have been following.
I'm going to go to Frank.
And I'm muted. Sorry about that. Good morning, Suzanne. Good to see you. And Spooky says, Wildheart and Sterling were on Oz's channel. Don't know if it's still live. It was last time I checked. I did not hear them on there, though. That's funny. I was thinking about hitting Oz's stream, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the stuff here while it was fresh in my thought processing. So, successfully switch this, and hopefully the sound is okay. Let me know. If it's terrible. There is a StreamYard link. If anybody wants to join, got a little while to talk, or whatever. Just hanging out pretty much. Busy earlier, quieting down. 2:13 in the morning. Just down here by the bridge, doing my second shift. Had to work 2 tonight. So, you know how it goes. I was discussing my very exciting year-long journey in self-discovery. I don't know. I don't know what you call this. It's just a journey of life. It's made its way public as I've, tried to have conversations, new and interesting people on the internet. And, me, I've just got this habit, running my mouth, spilling my personal business stuff. Great. I mean, I've always had this problem, but I just woke up one day and my filter fell off or something. It's pretty much been this way for a while. I take pride in it, really. It's an issue of transparency for me. I like to be a fairly transparent person in my business. It's whatever. I don't think most of the time I'm doing anything terribly wrong, terribly immoral. Yeah, sometimes I'm not doing things that are terribly logical or beneficial, but you're not necessarily bad. They're not evil. Not an evil person. Gosh, I was watching this movie recently with Crispin Glover. Love Crispin Glover. Plays the nastiest bad guy. It's kind of like a B movie too. Like I think he's the only big actor in it, and he's I don't want to describe. I gotta find the name of that movie now. Oh gosh, it's crazy. Yeah, see, I'm trying to give away spoilers now that I mentioned it. I'm like, I don't even remember the title. It was really good. I'm sure it'll show up. Just look up like Crispin Glover and then like movies you probably haven't seen, unless you have, and then you know what I'm talking about already. I mean, he's done bad guy in a couple of movies, but like this one's like really bad. Like you know, you saw it. Well, that's one evil motherfucker. Audio took a sudden dip in quality. Oh, that's the way love goes. That's the way love goes. Well, I don't necessarily have to use this if nobody's coming in. How long I'm going to stay alive if nobody comes in. See, is that back? Should be back to the usual mobile device standard. So I do have, obviously certain topics I want to explore with certain people. But I do think it's important for me to like establish this boundary with some people. Don't say like, okay, because I have this sense of like, oh, well, like if I open the door, I say, oh, here's an open room, like I've done just now, and somebody comes in and starts guiding the conversation, like I don't feel like unless they cross certain lines that I should necessarily shut that down. But now I'm thinking that I do. Like I really need to try to maintain focus in a direction because I could tend to start getting like mired in these like concepts that people are throwing out there. And I'm like, wait, walk back. We need to like explain, expound upon this concept. And now, there might be like, I'm like the odd man out in the room, just not knowing what we're talking about here. It might be the case. So, that's got to be my prerogative if I'm going to have conversations like that, because otherwise, I mean, I could spend days like not getting results, right? Like, not. I'm still mired in the concept. I'm not getting any results, right? Because I didn't further that conversation with that individual to clarify what they were talking about, right? I just kind of let it go, but it was still like stuck in my thought process. And so that's part of what I'm like trying to work on here to make sure that, like, if I'm engaged with somebody, that I walk away from the conversation understanding like what they were trying to explain. not just the words that were coming out of their mouth, but the whole concept, right? Because that becomes difficult for me. Because if somebody's going to try to tell me why something is biblically wrong, then they need to tell me why I need to trust the Bible, right? That's just got to be a standard that I uphold. Because otherwise, I'm having an argument about something that I don't believe the first premise, right? We're talking about premise 2, and I never agreed to premise 1. So I mean, you can only spend so much time doing that with people. Like, okay, I will grant this for the sake of the argument. But it seems to be like most of the theological conversations I have. And it doesn't make sense. There's no logic in in really doing that, unless you could just like beat the shit out of the second premise, I guess, and just you enjoy doing it, that seems to be the only reason that you would do that. Um, I don't know. That's where my head goes. I was like, because I asked myself, how much time am I devoting to like each one of these activities? Like right now, there's not like a whole lot else I can be doing. Like I'm here. I could be listening to somebody else or something else, or reading a book, which I might do anyway. I might even do it on stream. I don't know if I'm so inclined. I just kind of go by my whims here. But the point is, I've just got time to kind of kill in this moment, and so why not utilize it? Just do it, right? But that's like most of my moments. Most of my moments seem to be, pretty flexible. It's flexible. I go anywhere with this thing. I can stay right here. So I recorded 2 tracks yesterday morning. One of which was sent out. Let's see if anybody wants to, contribute on that. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Put the elbow out there, or not. It's So I got 2 very different ideas. One was like pretty super heavy, and the other one was a bit lighter. And the first one's almost a complete song. Second one, not so much. So I still need to work on it. But the point is that I actually have them recorded, so I can reference them and stuff like that. So, but this whole, it's just a mess trying to use this like mobile recording software for me and multi-track. I need like a simple device. So I'm gonna go see if I can find one of those. I found this. I wish I could remember the guy's name, but there's a guy I found on YouTube earlier, and he does one song in a day, basically. I think it's called Song in a Day or something like that on his stream. I'll share it later, where he goes through the whole recording process. He just writes a song from scratch. He live streams the whole thing in his studio. And I thought I was watching that for a while earlier. I thought it was pretty interesting. I don't know. That's like the first time I've really seen him, so we'll see what the quality of the songwriting is. He seemed like he was proficient. I don't know what, if he's like stylistically doing the same thing consistently, like if he's recording an album or just like any old song. Who knows? But it's like an interesting concept. I think it's really cool. And apparently, he's just doing all the instrumentation and stuff by himself. Which is something I don't prefer to do, but I do want to get that capability back again, to just like make a demo myself, even if it's not like as solid as I would like it to be, with like a full band. At least I can get like a backing track or something, so that I have like some kind of demo I can show, because I used to be able to do that all on my own. That was a few years ago, so it's definitely possible. But yeah, I don't have any problem, if people want to try and convince me God, that's cool. But we got to start. We got to start from the beginning. I mean, if that means creation, I don't know. Maybe that means creation. Talk about creation. But I do want to start focusing again on. Well, I don't say again. I mean, I have done some. Anyway, I want to start focusing on like some streams on like evolutionary biology and stuff like that, because it's something that interests me. And once you start like actually learning the finer points in that, you can actually start to have conversations about like creation theory versus evolution or whatever, and whether or not a deity caused evolution. Still got to prove deity, but yeah, that's fine. Talk about all that stuff. So, it's I watch this stuff like rather than streaming like drama streams like Rev and Shanny's drama or something like that, because it's interesting sometimes. I was watching this guy Simon Hectic earlier, which was funny. He's addressed me, and so he was trying to ask me a question. The stream the other night, we were on a panel with Richard and a few other people. I don't remember if that was over on. I think that was on it was on Wild Hearts channel, and I have no idea. I've never heard of this guy before. So Simon Hector, he has so he comes on. Well, man, it seems like a good interlocutor. And I think he had a particular angle he was trying to go for. He was trying to start guiding the conversation in a certain direction, and Wild wasn't having it, but he wanted to ask a question to me, and I was muted because I'm out here. I'm not sure exactly where I was at the time. I was here at home, but either way, I was muted for my own nefarious reasons. Nefarious reasons. And so I didn't quite get to the unmute in time, and Richard decided to step in and answer, and somebody else on the panel did as well. Like 2 people stepped in and answered. Let's see, I got a truck. And dude was like, I didn't ask you, I asked Abe, right? It was what it was. I was mildly amused by the whole thing because I was, somewhat, I was just kind of amused in general by the interaction, you know what I mean? And then by the fact that, he was trying to get upset because other people had answered before me. And then Richard, did explain that, it took me a minute to unmute and I had some audio quality issues, which is true. I mean, that's perfectly legitimate. Sometimes I do have audio issues. It take me a second to get on the microphone if I'm not unmuted at the time, which is something, love to work on for streaming purposes. Like I hate it sucks, and I hate being limited to like just this device, like during the times when I am. But I find it preferable to just not doing anything. I mean, I feel like I've heard people do a lot worse just consistently, so I'm not that. I don't feel that bad about it. But anyway, whatever. When it works, it works, and when it doesn't, I try to bow out gracefully. But in this particular instance, it just took me like a minute to unmute my mic. But the thing was, Richard then expounded by saying that I was on the spectrum, and I don't ever want that. I just want to say, I don't ever want to use that as a shield, right, for me. And I'm not like, say, like Richard was defending himself in this instance. He wasn't like say in defense of me necessarily, but it was just I found it funny the way that it came out. That it almost sounded like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's not a shield where it's like, oh, I can't speak for myself. And Richard knows that, and I don't think that was his intention in saying that, but the way it might come off to somebody, right? And then this guy, and I find his content actually kind of interesting, right? I see some red pill type of content or something like that. This guy, I was watching him earlier, Simon Hectic. So he has 101 more subscribers than I do at this point. Just putting that out there. We had 213 on the channel a few days ago, and it dropped down to 212. So he's got 313. So, I'm just. But anyway, and then the conversation devolved in such a way that the last thing I remember is him saying, "Do you not know who the fuck I am?" And then Wildheart kicked everybody off the panel, and so he took off. And I thought that was really funny. I thought that was great. I was fucking dying on that one. And I know Simon was in the stream earlier. He was wanting to come in. I wasn't open at that point, but I told him to come back if he wanted to. Cobes and his girlfriend are the latest drama. I don't. Oh, King Cobra. Yeah. I know. See, I'm subscribed to all that shit. I'm just. Yeah, I watch it. I don't know. I don't think I want to cover it anymore. I cover a little bit of this or that. I actually, I kind of at one point honestly wanted to talk to Jason, but I'm not really interested anymore. I don't think it's gonna be. And I don't know what happened to Dragnaut. I was looking around a few days ago, and I was like, I can't find Dragnaut's channel. All I can find are old clips of other people archiving his videos, but I don't see his content at all. It looks like he took his channel down from YouTube. I don't know. Haven't seen it. Can't find it. I was looking for it. Couldn't find it. And I was trying to invite Drag on the channel at one point, but that's kind of in the past. I got some other ideas right now. Yeah, it's I'm going to be covering stuff like that. I mean, I'm in a position where, I think I've had, at this point, more positive conversations on the channel with a more diverse group of people. When it's not just me running my mouth, I've had some, aside from the open rooms, we're looking to the older episodes, I've had some pretty good one-to-ones once I got into my element, right? I just tried to grow that thing. And so, yeah, it's a lot of it's a matter of upgrading tech. Oh, wow. Drag changed his channel name and wiped his old content. I did not know that. Yeah, I was out for a while, so it's sometimes things change and you don't catch the wind, man. I don't know. If it's gonna be something that I'm gonna try to take seriously, pursue in the future, aside from just open rooms, if I'm gonna say, pay somebody to come and be a guest, then I gotta, curate the environment in such a way that it's gonna make it entertaining, and I want it to be I don't want it to be a trash fire scene, you know what I mean? I want people to go away from it saying, wow, that was a good conversation. Right? Which was the whole fiasco with grumpy old dude and Arucard, and that whole thing, the way that got away from me, because I was more worried about just hosting the debate than the actual content or doing any type of research into the people that I was and I think it's fine. I really didn't fault him for that. I don't know what took place. I know there were other streams outside of my stream and the interactions I had directly with them. I did view the stream they did with Atheist Pastor, but I wasn't involved in that whole Twitter thing. I found out about all that shit after the fact. So it was once I realized the whole shitstorm that came out of that stream, I was, oh, this is a mess. You can't, so what are you gonna do? But it was a failure on my part to really think through the ramifications of trying to host that discussion. Now I sound like a Reformed theologian. Interesting. A Reformed theologian. We'll have to discuss that at some point. I don't know if I'm a lobsterist, pastafarian. I do like the idea of wearing a colander on my head just for the fuck of it, though. Well, all right. I think that's about it for me. Yeah, still, as far as I can tell, a disbeliever, a skeptic, a dirty, low-down atheist. But there's a caveat. I do believe in a higher power. My higher power is logic. Logic guides me. Logic is my way, my truth. I don't know if it's my light. I can't say logic is a light. Could be. Light is logical. No, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole again. And you know, I do appreciate you too, Jill. Been here along my journey. You hear that? Can you hear that? This is your brain on logic. Yeah, I think I'm good. We can do this, resume this another time. Might go see what's going on over at Oz's channel, see if they're still over there screwing around. All right, well, have a good morning, everyone. And let's see. Today is Wednesday. Probably going to try to hit up the library. Might spend an hour or two over there, see if I can get something going on the Chromebook. Sorry, I got distracted momentarily. Okay. Bye-bye. Talk to you later. Be well. Be trusting.